Hey, how's it going? Good? Good food? Yeah. Y'all aren't gonna fall asleep on me, right? All right, great. So, I'm glad that you came. This is Getting Good at Code Reviews. I'm Rhia Dixon. You are at Stir Trek 2023. For those of you that are my tweeters, hashtags to follow. Also, I'd like to point out the Discord. So, I will be engaging in questions and answers in the Discord. I will also post a link to my slides in the Discord. And now I know why my previous speaker talked about the echo. Good God. Like, whoa. Whoa. All right, so quick question. How many of you write code? Cool. How many of you are newer to development? How many of you are not so newer? Okay. Do I have any project leads, code owners? Great. Wonderful. So, my name is Rhia, and this is my Twitter handle. I'm a leader of developers at VML-Y&R. It's a global brand and marketing agency. I work for the tech department. I lead projects, and I have a team of developers. Jesus, we're gonna say a prayer. Okay, so I lead a team of developers. I also manage a team of developers, and those developers might not also be on my project. They might be on someone else's project. I'm an ambassador at Kansas City Women in Tech. You may have seen Jennifer Idelish, that's our founder. And I'm also your resident code review queen. Code review is something I'm pretty passionate about, if you couldn't tell. So, who reviews PRs? Is that everybody that writes code? It should be. It should be. Because in my mind, it's a pretty scary place. I agree. I think that everyone should do it. Everyone. If you write code, you should review code. That quote is from me, in case you wanted to know. So, what is code review? What is it? This is often something that I see as you ramp on new developers to a project. It's not necessarily that they're new to coding, but they're new to the code base. So first, I want to start off with what it isn't. What code review is not. It's not only for the code owners and the team leads. That's me, that's some of you. We shouldn't be the only ones. It's not about the developer. It's about their solution. It's about their solution. Code review is not a forum for attacking and belittling people. How many of you have seen that one developer that just wants to rip everything to shreds? And it's in the most demeaning of ways. We could talk about picking a better solution without actually insulting people's intelligence. Come on, speaker, catch up. So we can talk about it without insulting people's intelligence, without insulting their experience. Everybody's level of experience is important and relevant to finding good solutions. And the last thing, Code review is not something that any of your developers should have the opportunity to opt out of at all. So let's talk about what it is. Code review is a quality game. We want to write high quality solutions, right? We want to get to the best solution. It's a collaborative learning opportunity. For those of you that join a new Codebase, so I work for an agency, and at the agency, I get a lot of different clients. My projects are about 6 months. How long does it take you to ramp on to a new Codebase? This is unknown. How long does it take you? Couple weeks? Dang, y'all fast. Typically, what I have heard from my lead developers is that when they're joining a new legacy Codebase, it takes them about 6 to 8 months to actually feel comfortable in the code. 6 to 8 months. When I was working on a flagship app for a fintech company, that was fine. When I was working on data ingestion for internal tools, that was fine. When I work at this agency, and my scopes are 6 months, 3 months, 8 months, guess who doesn't have 6 to 8 months to get comfortable? Me. I don't. So what I do is I review the code, all of it. That's how I know where stuff is. I didn't build it, but I know where it is. I know what it does. Code review is thought leadership. Why? How? Code review is thought leadership because it gives, as you move through your career, you come up with your opinions, right? Your experiences, your interactions with industry standards, best practices, traps, like not writing a focus trap for your modal, or building a carousel without arrows that indicate that there's more content. But guess who doesn't necessarily like giving you arrows? Your creative team. But it's something that you know you need for accessibility. And you can teach others why that's important. That's thought leadership. It's also a team effort. Code review should not fall to 1 or 2 high-speed devs. It should fall to everyone. Just because I'm the code owner, I'm the literal gatekeeper, doesn't mean that I should be the only one. So I don't review first. I don't. Benefits of reviewing code. Learning the Codebase. We just talked about this. So, learning the Codebase, rapid onboarding, knowledge share, reinforce those standards, and pattern and anti-pattern recognition. Story time. So, once upon a time, at my current job on project 3 or 4 clients ago, I had a developer who, he's a front-end developer, but we're writing AEM. Anybody familiar with Adobe Experience Manager? Okay, yeah. So it's backed by Java, and that's where I like to play. This developer wrote a custom component, and in that custom component, there were some null checks. Usually, what I saw was that we were following the pattern of, is this thing equal to null or not equal? This developer was writing, is null equal to this thing? So I was newer to the project, but I asked the question. I'm like, hey, can we just, flip this back around? And I think I might have asked why he did it. That PR comment, he resolved the comment. He didn't respond, didn't tell me why. Just resolved it and merged the PR anyway. Second PR, I bring it back up. Because, I have questions, and we encourage questions. So the developer this time got a little bit more aggressively passive. And he said, yeah, I saw you ask this last time, so I'm going to go ahead and address it now, and hopefully this will be the end of this conversation. Right. Wow. I was like, okay, cool. He said, well, it's not, I don't know if it's any more or less performant, but these type of things shouldn't matter, and you can write a linter for that, a lint rule. And I'm like, yes, I can. I was like, however, 9 lines up in this code that you just added, because it's all green, you did it the other way. You did it the other way. I just want you to pick a way. What I did find out from my other channels is that checking null is equal to something is called Yoda code, right? In some languages, it's quite possible, quite easy to set a variable to null that you didn't intend. Java, that's not the case. And that's not the pattern. So what happens when you get a new developer looking for null checks? They're going to try to follow the pattern, and they're going to miss this one because it's written differently. And had he told me about Yoda code, I probably wouldn't have felt so strongly about the dismissal. But that's not what he said, so I can't assume that that's what he meant. But so things that I think that we should do. I'm going to tell you about my process as we proceed. So that's what you're going to get. The things that I do with my development teams. I ask them to actively engage on the PR. If you have a question, ask the question on the PR. If you see something, say something on the PR. So if you don't know what it does, and this is for everybody, new to the code base means that you're either new to coding or you're just new to this project. If you don't know what it does, you can't figure out what this variable connects to, ask. The person that wrote it should be able to tell you why. They should be able to tell you how it works. They wrote it. And if they were inspired by someone else's solution, they should be able to point you to that resource. If you see something that is out of place, something missing, request a change. You are well within your power. If you write code in the code base, you are within your rights to ask questions about everything coming into your code base. You own it. And if it's just something that you thought was cool, I don't necessarily seek recognition, but I like it. One of the ways that we found has been helpful for the writer of the PR, to understand, what's a blocker and what isn't, is we have a structure. I've seen it in some places. I brought it from one company and one project to another. But when you ask a question, and it's just a question, note it as a question. I literally start all questions with this block. When I see something that's a change request, if it's not a blocking change, it's just a change or a suggestion. And then sometimes it's a nit. But if it's a nit, please explain. Don't just say, use double question marks instead of or. My newer people, they don't know what the difference is or anything. So tell them why. The comment. It's just a comment. So if there's something that you want to put a pin in for later, or somebody that has a ticket coming up that's going to need this pattern, tag them. Say, hey, this is part of what you need, part of your solution. And it helps for clarity. It helps with PR etiquette. I'm going to talk a little bit about PR etiquette as we go. You'll hear some more of the things that we do during our code review process. And there's different types of code reviews. So you can do group-led or a group-focused code review where somebody is demoing their code, or we've had opportunities where we just brought in the code and we just all reviewed it together. But this specifically is about you taking time to review code or encouraging your team to actually review pull requests and not just rubber stamp them. So, quality and consistent ilities. Do I have any architects in the building? Hey, hi. So, you know about ilities. These aren't those. Not those ilities. So I'm not talking reliability. I'm not talking, I guess I could. Scalability, and the other non-functional requirements of design and building. What are some ilities? Like accessibility, transferability, what else? Maintainability, what did you say? Security, what else? Readability, that's my thing. What else? I heard observability and scalability. Yes, so these are all my ilities. Hopefully they come up, there we go. Applicability, I didn't hear that one, but applicability. What are we good at as developers? Scope creep. It's easy. I want to run prettier on the whole code base. But your ticket was a 2. It was due on Tuesday. Why are there 57 file changes for a 2? I disagree. But also maintainability, searchability, like how I was talking about the null checks. If it's consistent, maintainable, easy to read, those are things that you should also review for, not just the logic, not just the syntax. So how do we look for those ilities? Questions that I ask and that I encourage my team to ask. What does this change do? If I can't figure it out, guess what I'm going to do? Ask a question. You're right. Dang, I need stickers. I'm sorry, I got you later. Another question, do the functions and variables have suitable names. I mean, Groot's awesome groove is cool, but what the bleep does it do? Err on the side of descriptive. Brief is cool if brief gets the point across, but me, in 6 months, needs to know what I'm doing. Me in 3 months, because my projects are short. Shoot, some of y'all need to know what you did two weeks from today, right? How often do you see that you have to go back and touch something that someone wrote, and it's got some awesomely cool name, like maybe item, and we're not using the maybe library? Check for those things. That's not maintainable. That's not, I mean, I guess it's searchable, but you don't know what it does, or you won't. Does this have tests? Does it need them? Two different questions. The answer to the latter is often yes. Often yes. Sometimes no. But that sometimes is based on usage and whether or not it was already tested. So I write in Java. I use Lombok project to write my boilerplate getters and setters. Lombok is already tested. So generic getter and setter, I don't need that test. I need the logic test, the one where I'm getting information, doing some sort of transformation, and outputting something different. That needs a test. The fact that I want it to render to the page needs a test. It might not be hooked up, right? So, does it have tests? If it doesn't have tests, what are we going to do? Are we asking a question? We requesting a change? Is it a blocker? It should be. Some people, though, you know, they write their tests later. I prefer test-driven or behavior-driven writing before, but it's not always possible. Sometimes you're operating on someone else's untested thing. So, does it have tests? Ooh, this is one of my favorites. Is it semantic? Or is it just, 1,000 lines of divs? And are we impacting accessibility in a negative way? Did we just throw ARIA roles and labels and have you run a Lighthouse report? So those kind of things. And I'm not asking you to move out of your depth, but if you're a front-end developer, there's things that you should be looking for in all PRs that touch the front end. And if you work with back-end developers to get the data to your front-end piece, you should look at their stuff too. Look at their stuff too. Helps you learn. And are we following any applicable standards? I think there's some clients that are like, we're going for WCAG, AAA, and I'm like, hello. No, we're not. No, we're not. Accessibility doesn't have to be ugly. It shouldn't be ugly. And AA is what my company strives for. It's like AAA is like what is it? Like trying to construct a pretzel with tweezers. I wouldn't do that. It's like if all of the boxes could possibly be checked, then this is what you would get. But that's not the requirement. And it's a really hard goal to aspire to. Keep it within reason. Double A, like A is sufficient, but double A is intentional. Oh man. How many times have you seen the same 15 lines of code get rewritten across the components, right? Why? Why? Why are we rewriting this wheel? So another story. One of the projects, there was a ticket to touch buttons. We operate in a monorepo. This monorepo has global components, and then it has 5 or 6 projects. And this ticket kept coming back for button states, hover states, focus states, outline styles. And so since I saw it come in, when someone else came in with a contradictory style change, I asked a question. I was like, hey, is this supposed to apply to all the projects? And it wasn't. But they were like, well, if it needs to be that way, then it should be for all the projects. And I'm like, no. I was like, what does your creative look like? And what does mine look like? And what does this one look like? He's like, well, you know, you can just use a bang important. Lord. One way to get your girl riled up is overuse of bang importance. Same project. I went through and removed 23 bang importance. It's not random. I remember. It was traumatic. It was traumatic. I fixed it with specificity, applying it where you needed it, that one line. So, but Rhia, I have reasons that I don't review code. I don't have time. Really? Are you actually scoped for 8 hours of writing code? I don't think so. I think that you have to spend more time understanding the problem before you can actually write the code. I don't think anyone is hardcore coding for 8 hours a day. And if you are, maybe you're a startup. So, other reasons. I just got here. I don't think I know enough. But what should you do if you don't know? Ask a question. Well, I don't feel comfortable reviewing the lead's code, because, I mean, that's the lead. They know what they're doing. I mean, maybe they needed to, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it was funny. It was funny. But maybe they need to write a service, to change some variables, to do some color changes and updates. Or they could use, you know, a little bit of JavaScript that my new non-traditional developer was like, hey, can't we just do this? You know what? You are so right. Because what happens as we get more senior? What happens as we get further into the weeds as we go. We forget the easy parts. Has anybody ever taken Calc 2? How hard is it to multiply quickly sometimes? Like, I don't need sine and tangent. No, you don't. But that's the perspective of fresh eyes, right? Yes, you as a new developer can review everyone's code. You're fresh. They've seen it before. And if the answer is, this is how we've always done it, y'all need to unpack that. Why? We can make it better. We can make it more performant. Something that your newer, non-traditional developers get exposed to that's positive is the latest and greatest updates to things like JavaScript and CSS. Things that you might not have had time to investigate, but they did. They just did it in 6 months. Just did it. Your opinion, you new developers out there, your opinion is valid and valuable. Pipe up. So all those reasons, do you have reasons? Yeah. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because if you write code, what should you do? Review the code. Review the code. Thank you. I wish I had stickers. I swear. I would give them out. So ways that you can get better, right? Develop your process. My process is pretty specific to Java and AEM development, but you can figure out yours based on these same questions. So your pre-check. Pre-check it. How many people use a PR template? You know what a PR template is? Are you a GitHub user? So GitHub has PR templates. I love them because I can put a checklist on it. I can have my developer link to their ticket so I can go get context. They can tell you what kind of change is it. Is it a new feature? Is it a bug fix? Is it just tests? What is it? So review the template, and if you don't have them, implement a template. It's very, very easy. Gosh, it's getting to me again. But get a template added. It's going to make encouraging good PRs a little bit easier. But you have to make sure that you stick to it. So if you see someone that has not filled out the template, just tag them. Hey, can you fill out the template? Thanks. Otherwise, I'm gonna pause the review, and I'm not gonna look at it. It's enforcement. It has to happen. Am I the bad guy? Sometimes. I mean, am I? It's my code base. I own it. Check the ticket. Is this change in scope? Who is team leave the code better than you found it? Are you also team refactor all the things? Right. So my rule for my developers is if you're in this code, leave it better than you found it. But if that's 3 components removed, baby, don't build that in here. Nope. New PR, new ticket. We need to track this tech debt. And it's out of scope. Like I said, it was a 2. It was a 2. But it took us 2 weeks. Come on, man. I don't want to review 57 style changes, semicolon removal. Fun times. Okay, another question. Dang, it led right into that because it's conversational. So, how many files are changed? I know that For me, creating a custom backend component from scratch, 26 files. I should see somewhere in the realm of 26 files. 40 is too many. And usually that means that they've added something that they needed, but we merge to develop often. So create that thing, get it reviewed, merge it, then pick this back up. So if it's a service that you need in order to enable this component to do what it needs to do, write it separate. So that gives us digestible chunks. Digestible chunks, because of those 26 files, I can just skip over like 8. They're just structure. Need to be there, but they're just structure. And they're boilerplate. So I don't need to actually do anything. But yeah, how many files have changed? I don't know, like, going back. Yeah, and are they in scope? So, but going back, right? How many files have changed when you write a front end component? I identify as a back-end dev who's a little dangerous in front end. I can debug, bleep out of anything. I'm an expert bug hunter. But if you need your, oh, I lost it. We're back. I'm gonna hold it because, goodness, I'm tripping. Okay, dang. We're already on read it because I dropped it. Oh, going back. Oh, that's not me. All right, read it. So, picking back up. Where was I? Oh, no. Scope. Oh, yeah. So for front-end components, like, where do you get when, at what point should you have your developer break something apart, right? Is it tightly coupled? Do they need to be done together? Or should we pull this out? And then, how much is too much? If this thing needs that thing, then maybe they're cohesive and they should be one thing, right? So definitely do this to the level of your experience and your expertise. I don't expect someone who is like Flexbox guru to understand what all my models need in Java. That's not what they're at. But if I write something that affects something that they need, they should be able to point that out, because sometimes I do. Maybe I didn't give them a variable that they needed, or I named it camel case instead of, I don't know, something else, chain. So those things, look out for those things. The next thing that you should do is read it. And all of this is outside of actually building and breaking the thing, right? This is what you do before you pull it down. So, no fires, no broken buildings. That's what I'm looking for, right? Look at those small changes first, because, I mean, if it's, a large file, it's gonna take some time. But what can I do in this hour? I can hit all of the small parts and then come back to the large parts in a minute. Lean into your area, check for those entities. You should be able to find them back end, front end. You should be able to find your abilities. And ask questions if you have them. The builder part. This is my favorite, but I don't always have time. I work at a client-focused agency, and they have deadlines. Their release management has schedules. I might not be able to build it, but I try. So mainly, I want to know, can I successfully grab that branch and build it on my box? It's not enough that it works on his box or her box or their box. It's not enough. Can I build it? And if not, what are my settings? Like, what are we missing? In AEM, you can create packages for your style systems. If I don't know that, if that wasn't part of the testing steps in my template, if that's not part of the testing steps, then it should be, because I'm not getting what you got. You might have left that part out. I need it. Can you verify that it actually works as expected? So not just can I build it, but can I interact with it according to what the user story said? Does it change how another component works? So how many people build components in isolation? You build it on your test page. Anybody? I know you've seen it. Folks create a text component or a cute little, what are those? Those like 50-50 splits. But those, what happens with that 50-50? It likely has offsets, right? Might have offset, might have negative margins. What happens when you throw something with a float where something hasn't been cleared, right? But you don't know that if you just built it on its own little test page. So throw it on another page, see if it still works. The ultimate goal is, can I break it? If I can't, cool, I don't have to. But I thought about some things, tried to break it, looks good. So, what should you do if it looks good to you? Yes, approve it. But like, man, I don't wanna approve it, and there's something that I missed. If you miss something, that's okay. It is not the end of the world, unless you work for like the aerospace industry. It might be healthcare. So for me, it's pain. It's not the end of the world. But I don't want to approve it. I might have missed something. The thing is that it looked good to you. You read it. You understand what it's doing. Because if you didn't, what would you have done? Ask the question. You were like my star pupil up here. I love it. Yeah, you would have asked the question. If you saw something wrong, you would have put a change request, right? But if it looks good, approve it. Hopefully, your team has your rules in place. If you do not know about rules, GitHub rule sets will let you put number of approvals, who has the appropriate role to turn that little merge button green. It's only a code owner for us that can turn it green, which is why I don't review first. Once it goes green, you're empowered to merge. Go ahead, have at it. But That means that one of the final gatekeepers, has approved it. We didn't find anything wrong either, right? Or it's been addressed. It's okay. Approve it. You first. No. You. Yes, you. Tips. Because I do find that it's a little bit, I got to coax folks. I did have to continuously coax and coach. So, group code review. One thing that I did was, I say it's not me, not solely me. There's a bunch of us, the leads. We do a group code review, and it's across projects. It doesn't matter if you're on this client or that client, unless it's the government, then you can't review that. But everything else is fair game. So group code review, somebody walks through their process, and then we ask questions. Did you think about this? Did you think about that? That's cool. Where did you find out about that? And so it becomes a group learning experience. Dev demo days. Does anybody do those? I love those. I love dev demos, because how many of us are out here building cool stuff? A lot of us. I hope that you think that what you're doing is cool. Show it off. And we don't restrict demo days to client work. You can bring in whatever. If you were tinkering on the side, did some cool pro bono work, please share. We want to see it. We're interested. Office hours. So this is my favorite thing. I set up an office hours where I know that I'm going to be reviewing code. And I invite the whole team. Whoever has time can come in or not. But I'm just going to literally talk through my process as I do it. And I'm like, okay, starting with this, I can see that my title looks good for release management. I can see there's a link. Let me pop that open. Oh, this is a bug fix. Does that track with the expectations, with the acceptance criteria? Are there testing steps? How many files are there? And I just talked through it. And I did it like one-on-one, and I realized that it was so beneficial for that one person that I needed to open it up. And it has fundamentally changed my team's level of engagement. I went from having the same 2 out of 5 to all 5 on my side, plus my 3 on the client side that we were augmented with. So we're teaching an army of code reviewers, building an army, one project at a time. Positive reinforcement. If somebody does something well, call it out. Call it out. If they did it well, you call it out. Now, what's the team going to do? They're going to try to get that same positive reinforcement. Let's go. Let's do this. One of my things that we talked about, bang importance versus specificity. I like a well-scoped change, well-contained. When I see it, I celebrate it. Also, if the code is written so well that I don't have any questions, I throw a taco on. Totally awesome code. And so I like to do those. It's it's like a little something. Miniature celebration. And then a code review checklist. I'm a fan of checklists. I like to check the boxes. Sometimes I make a box after I do something just so I can check it off. But still, checklist. I'm also about repeatable processes. If it seems like it is a high quality way to do things and you can get the same results over and over, Write that down. Spread the word. Write a checklist. Recap. Oh, we made it. Things to remember. Code review. Helps your devs. It helps them get onboarded and comfortable faster because they know where stuff is. And if they're participating in grooming, hopefully when they see something that they've already touched on code review, they can say, hey, we did that. Let me go find it because I know we did it. It improves your quality of your code, helps you write maintainable, consistent, applicable up to industry standards or your company's standards, whichever are, your constraints. Decreases those duplicated, those buttons, y'all. They were so triggered by the buttons. That poor man. When I tell you, when he said that it should be that way for everything, and he didn't understand why it should be scoped, it was a whole interesting conversation. But we had it in public. We had it on the PR. Why? Why would you ask all your questions and do all of your discussions on the PR? Yes. Was that you? I'm going to say it was somebody in this region. Yes. Help other people learn. Somebody who might have said, I don't see anything wrong. It's good. It's solid. It's dry. Is it? Is it well scoped, though? So now that's things that the team knows to look for. Target the code, not the developer. Just because, dang, I'm going to pick on somebody. I'm sorry. If your name is Joe, I am so sorry. But if Joe wrote something that you're like, oh, nah, we can't do that, it's not about Joe. It's not about Joe. It's about the solution. And whether or not you and Joe get along has nothing to do with it. Has absolutely zero to do with the solution. If Joe's solution is sound, if his solution is consistent, maintainable, accessible, applicable, in scope, and the only thing you don't like is Joe, throw a taco on that code and move around. It's a team effort. Please don't leave your leads and your code owners to be the only eyes on your code base. You own it, because if you write code, you should review the code. I've got some resources. This is going to be like a living list. I'm still trying to track down all my resources. I've got them bookmarked. But Angie Jones, oh, Lord. Angie Jones, the 10 Commandments of Navigating Code Reviews. It's recommended reading for anyone who works with others to put code into a code base. I love it. And I require my devs to read it at least once. GitHub rule sets, GitHub PR templates, and then a couple of tools that help you review your code. I didn't really talk about them, but SonarQube is what I use. They have a plugin in IntelliJ, and it picks up, I have SonarLint that I use. But SonarQube does not review the code. You need a person. What it will do is it will identify code smells. and you can generate new tickets. I love that thing. And it can identify duplicated code, so opportunities for pulling out a piece. Pre-commit, that's a great one. I like, there's pre-commit hooks, and then there's, post-commit. And so be strategic. If you know that you commit early and often, as we all should, then be strategic about your pre-commit hooks so that you don't discourage commits. TypeScript, ESLint. I don't know how many of you do that, but we write in TypeScript on the front end, so this is one that we use. I'll put some more on here, so it'll be living. But yeah, those are the resources, and this is me. Thank you so much.